spinning. This better work.
Oh, it says live.
We are live. Hello, everybody. It's Rie in Whitley Bay, live in Be Kind, No Excuses. And I am delighted this evening to welcome my lovely friend, Jacky Calder-Rice. Jacky is, as you can see, sitting in her caravan. And I cannot tell you how jealous I am of that.
Oh.
I've wanted a caravan since I was a child. My parents had caravan in Beagle. So I've always wanted a caravan, but that's another conversation for another night. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about Jacky. Jacky's 62 years old. I cannot believe that. When you sent me that on the bio, I was like, really? Married for the second time to Vince, and no children from your first marriage of 32 years. So you were married first time for 32 years. And then your second husband has 4 grown-up children, and 2 of whom are married with 3 grandchildren from each. So you've got a ready-made family of 4 kids and 6 grandchildren. I think that's amazing, Jacky, but I don't think I'm envious of that.
No.
I never managed like 6 grandchildren. Oh my goodness. 6! I'm going to stop. Like, that's enough.
I think there'll be more.
Do you think there'll be more?
Because one of the younger ones, she's keen to start a family, so all being well she does, I think she'll probably have a couple at least as well. So who knows?
Lovely. So people are watching us this evening. If anybody is watching, please comment. I'm going to go on my phone because I haven't figured out how to look at Facebook comments on StreamYard. And I'm going to do it on my phone. So I'm going to put my phone on 0 volume and follow the comments on the phone, right?
Good for you.
The mix of technology. This is multitasking, you know. So if anybody has any questions, please comment and hello. And please also tag people and invite them in, because the more the merrier, really. If you're not watching live, just click on the comments if you're watching it later on, and let us know that you've been watching it, and then I can see whether this is in demand or not, because I do love doing these interviews with lovely, interesting ladies and gentlemen. If any gentlemen would like to ever volunteer, if you dare to come on as an interview, I'm sure we do have a couple. Actually, do have a couple lined up for later on in the year, which is fab. So, Jacky, this is wonderful. Thank you for coming on. We've known each other for 2 years now.
Yeah. Yes, it will be. Can't believe that, actually, but yes, it's got to be.
It's mad, isn't it? Because 2 years. I signed up for Utility Warehouse in the June. I mean, I didn't actually realise I had until the September.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
I was like, I didn't know that, so I just sort of then started working it in the September. If you notice, my first customer didn't happen until the September because I didn't know. Okay.
I had a similar story. I had a very similar story. I joined in the January and didn't even do my Get Start training till the March because my dad was so poorly. So I just joined and then just walked away from it. I didn't do anything for a few months.
But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can actually pick it up and put it down. It's so flexible. I think that's why a lot of women do network marketing. So now my dog's starting to bark. I don't know if everybody can hear, but the dog's barking. Do apologise. This is not studio conditions. We are not the BBC, but that's fine.
Thank goodness.
So, Jacky, would you like to tell everybody your story, please?
Yeah, I've decided to share this in the hopes that it might resonate with other women or men, actually, but equally it's just a story that's in me, and I think it's important to share it. It's quite cathartic. So I'm going back, 1981 was when I got married. We've been courting 2 years. If I was to say to you now, with hindsight, I should never have married him. Not because I didn't love him, and I know he genuinely loved me, but really and truthfully, I don't think it was. We weren't the 2 peas in a pod or anything like that. So, but anyway, as you do, you make the most of things, and we had a fun for the first few years and got a house, sort of did that up and stuff like that. But at 4 years, I knew it was a mistake. There was a lot of things, undercurrents, but also I noticed that his drinking was heavier. Okay, fine. I enjoyed a drink too. We used to go to the pub. He started working permanent nights, so he was doing like 4 nights on, and then he was off from Friday morning through till Monday night. So he partied quite hard at the weekend. And that was okay to begin with until he started to get a bit of verbal abuse. And I was just shocked. I think I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I just assumed it happened in all families and all couples. I didn't talk to my parents about it. They were very much of the, you've made your bed, lie in it. Not in a nasty way, but I just didn't feel I could go say, Mum, Dad, you know. I knew my dad would be horrified because I'd never heard him speak to my mum like that. But anyway, so things moved on. So I think I got the 7-year itch at 4 years, but didn't really do anything about it. We discussed it and, you know, he kind of said he couldn't see it was a big deal. So I thought, well, I was just making a fuss. Anyway, time moves on, doesn't it? So my sister then started having a family. Now, we talked about a family before, and my ex-husband had always seen having a family as being a bit of a, why do it? They're dirty, smelly and expensive. And that was his phrase, always. Who would want that? You know, we've got double income, no kids. We've got a good lifestyle, haven't we? Well, yeah, we had. Couldn't complain about that. And he also saw them as a bit of an obligation. That didn't ring an alarm bell in my head at all, actually, at the time. I just thought, fair enough, you know. Shame we didn't discuss all this before we got married, but never mind. Anyway, my sister had her first child. I went to the hospital to see her at night, and I held that baby, and I just thought, oh, my God. Why did I say that? I was okay not having kids. I want one. And I became very focused on that. We had discussions about having a family. He really, really didn't like the way that was going at all. So he would find all sorts of ways of trying to persuade me that it wasn't a good idea. But yeah, in the end, I said, look, you know, I'm going to come off the pill. It's as simple as that. I'm going to try for a family. So he said, if you feel that strongly, I'll go with it. And I went, God, I was so shocked, you know, but really he was being quite coercive because he didn't mean it. He just knew exactly how to get me to back off. So anyway, time went on. I started to develop a career, and I started to look at him and me and thinking, would we actually make good parents? I thought I would. I don't know. Never happened. But I knew deep down, it was ingrained in him. He didn't want the obligation of having a family. So it was going to be very much down to me. And I thought, that's like bringing a child into, intentionally bringing it into a one-parent family, having the other one not around. And it did. It started to bother me a lot. We had discussions, and he said, if you want one, won't stop you have one, but, you know, it's going to be your kid. And I thought, oh, God. So that put me right off. I thought, no, I'm not going down that route. Anyway, developed a career, and he was all for that. Yeah, have a career instead. I'll support you with your career. You do all your studying. So, yeah, great. Okay. I actually started to meet a new class of people when I was studying. So it took me into a different realm. I was some like-minded people who all actually were having families as well, funnily enough. But it was just, my eyes were starting to waken up. I think I don't know what was going on, but I realised that I wasn't happy. This marriage was meaningless. It was going nowhere. What were we going to do? Just go on holidays all the time, or do what? You know, be companions. I just couldn't see it anyway. So he couldn't see that. So I decided my career was taken off. So I just threw myself into my work. Fast forward a fair number of years, obviously no children, etc. And I was doing some fantastic work in my HR career, acquisitions, integrations, working with KPMG. I absolutely loved it. I really loved it. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm getting all my happiness and fulfillment out of my career and not my marriage. It was a very, very lonely and difficult time, to the extent that I started to work away, go to other places I could stay away all week, and just come home at the weekends. So that was incredibly hard. I'm a home-loving person, so it didn't really fit very well for me. But in some ways, I just didn't want to go home. Anyway, upshot was, this was clearly internalized. It made me very ill, and I had quite a major breakdown. And by that, I mean, I just crashed. I couldn't drive. I couldn't understand how traffic lights worked or anything. I just couldn't remember how to drive a car. So, you know, my brain just scrambled itself. And the doctor was incredibly supportive. I was put on antibiotics, antidepressants and stuff like that. Absolutely hated them because I couldn't think at all with those. And I just thought, this is not me. I need to plan and get myself out of this hole somehow. And I just didn't like it. I felt I was just being coerced and more vulnerable, actually, in my relationship, believe it or not. Because all he wanted to do was ply me with drink. yeah, I'll have a drink, it'll do you good. I thought, oh, no, because that could have been so dangerous. Yeah, by then he was pretty much a full-on alcoholic anyway, and I was aware of that, but I had to look after myself. So I went back to the doctor. I said, I can't take these tablets. I want to talk to you alternative options. So I joined a gym. I'm not a gym person. I don't like gyms, full stop. But I joined a gym and I did some, light weights. But I did swimming. I sat in the jacuzzi steam room, and I kind of planned my way back to health and back to work. But I made up my mind then I couldn't cope and I couldn't go back to where I was. Otherwise, I'd soon fall back down in that hole again. Anyway, I went back to work. I went back to work part-time. Clearly, being a head of HR controller, you can't do that part-time. I tried to, but you can't. It's impossible. And they were very good at work. And we created a new role, really. So I moved my specialism away from, running across the whole company HR generalist team to doing graduate recruitment, senior management development, and blow me down. That started to become very successful as well. So they wanted me to do it full time. Would I be ready to go back to do that full time? And would I be prepared to work out of Crewe? I lived in Oxford, and I said, thank you so much for the offer. It's a great compliment, but no. So we talked about a package, and I left. So I was fortunate to have that because it meant I could try working myself in my own business, and I did. And oh, blimey, that opened my eyes even more as to what a problem I had at home, because I wasn't working from home. I started doing more things in the community. I set up a little community hub in our village because there was no shop. We had a Saturday market, and it became a permanent presence in the end, part of the village hall. So proud of that. Anyway, clearly the marriage was going no end. So this time when I said to him, I'd become his carer. There was nothing in the marriage, it was a shell. So I cared for him for 5 years. And in the end, I could feel myself going back down into that hole again. I was just so unfulfilled that I said to him, look, this isn't working at all. I need to divorce you. I need to just get away. And all he said was, I can't understand why it's taken you so long to come to that realization.
Oh my God.
Yes, I know, smack in the face. Anyway, we did divorce. I moved back up to the northeast. I've been coming up here every 4 weeks for a long weekend anyway, just to be with my family, because my parents were up here. My sister, my nieces by then were up here as well. And I moved up, and I thought, God, I've left everything I've ever known. I had my education, everything down south, everything, all my friends, colleagues, work contacts, social contacts, the whole lot. And you keep in touch a little while on the phone and stuff, but that dwindles. So I had to relaunch my HR career, find a house for me and the dogs, couldn't live with my mum and dad forever and all that sort of thing. So, but I moved on that quite quickly, and it was good for me. It's quite cathartic doing that. Fortunately, because I'd come from Oxford, even though we'd done everything 50-50, I was able to buy a house. It needed a lot of work doing to it, which is probably why I could afford to do it. But I did that. I was very proud, got that renovated and did that up, and moved in July 2014. And relaunched my HR business in the October 2014. And things moved along lovely. And then I did a lot of networking, met some fabulous people that helped me with my website, a bit like actually part of a networking group I'm in now, BNI. It was popular with lots of people with lots of different skills, talents, experiences. And I got huge support for my business from doing that. Coincidentally, when I bought that house, I met a lady at networking called Jacky Rie. I don't know if you're on here, Gillian, but she introduced me to UW. And for me as a customer, it's a total no-brainer, because it's like simplicity, everything on one bill. And it meant that, I was getting all these discounts. I thought, that's great. And she said as she was leaving, would you like to do this, Jacky? I can see you doing this. I went, you're having a laugh, aren't you? No, thank you. I didn't want to know at all. Fast forward, she asked me another couple of times, and then I was getting to the stage of my HR business. I was thinking, I don't want to do this forever. It's famine or feast. It takes your life over because, you have to work incredible hours to support the company when they're in the mire and stuff. So I thought, I wonder about that thing about Gillian asked. I'll have a look at that. So that's when I decided to join UW. And actually, it's been part of my salvation, because it's meant that when my dad was poorly, I could go to hospital appointments and still do an appointment or whatever. So the flexibility it gave me was unbelievable. And I'm now in that position where I've got a lovely residual income starting to grow, which is supporting me. I work when I want to. I'm away in my caravan now. I can work from here, which is fabulous. And yeah, so my life has changed a lot. And of course, I forgot to mention, I met Vince back in 2014. So I hadn't long moved up there. I decided to go on a dating site, and I thought, I'll see if I can meet somebody that way. And funny enough, he lived in Morpeth anyway. But that's how we met.
That's convenient.
So, it was very convenient. I didn't have to travel miles. So we met, and then we got engaged, I think, in 2016 and married in September 2017. So yeah, and so I'm kind of just where I am right now. I've told you my story, but I haven't told you an awful lot of details. So if you've got questions, then I'm more than happy to.
If anybody has any questions, please put questions. We do have questions actually, but first of all, what an amazing story. And you tell it as if it was like the easiest thing in the world. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was very hard. Like, because when we tell our story, it's almost as if, and then I did that, and then I did that, and then I did that. And we forget all about that anxiety and the trauma and everything. But you have to go through it, don't you? Have to go through that. Yeah. But not everybody, people who are thinking about leaving, first of all, stay safe when you're doing it, because it's a really risky time if you're in an abusive relationship. That's when the really hard stuff starts to happen. But, put your ducks in a row. Like somebody has said, Emma has said, were you financially stable before you left?
I was, yes, in the sense that I'd started my own HR career. I had no idea, though, because obviously he was still working. He was very fortunate. He worked for one of the colleges in Oxford. They were very, very good and very kind to him. He was a painter and decorator by then. And so he did have an income coming in. So obviously that did contribute to the bills. I had to sit down and work out my budget, what I could afford in terms of what I'd have out of the shared, because I did it 50-50, obviously. So what I'd have, and then, I had to pay bills, obviously. And that was my biggest concern. So that's where I jumped on Gillian almost when she said she could save me money on my bills. So I'll have some of that. So I was financially stable, and I was not dependent on my ex-husband. But I was concerned about if I didn't relaunch my HR consultancy, what on earth was I going to do? Yeah.
And that's worked out very well, hasn't it? I remember when I was planning on leaving my marriage, I thought about the finance, and I went back to work full time because I had gone part-time in the police when I started my family. So I had to go back full time. And my husband just thought that I just wanted to go back to work full time. And all the time I was plotting and saving and renting a house. But you have to think about the finances, don't you? And I think that's one of the scary things, because money's always a really scary thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate in that regard. And I also had my parents I could go to, and it was a good distance away from where he was as well. It's not like they were just around the corner. Yeah. Because one of my biggest fears was that, and he played me on the phone, even though we were divorced. He played me all the time on the phone. He was never off it. And to the end, I used to say, Mum, if that's Mick, I don't want to speak to him. I can't deal with it. I cried my eyes out the whole 4.5 hours from Oxford all the way to Newcastle. Yeah. Because I still loved him, even though I divorced him. So it was hard.
It was an impossible situation because his drinking, wasn't it? He was
very abusive verbally, and he was violent, not necessarily towards me, but to things in the house. Anything I liked, he used to break. So yeah. Sorry.
No, Jacky, please, thank you so much. And Barbara's on saying thank you so much for sharing your story tonight, because even this far down, it still affects you.
You don't ever forget the abuse. No. You don't. It stays with you forever. You get past it. It's like other things that, and when you talk about it, it just brings it all back up again. Yeah. Something
that you said, we've been talking about in the group this week about how being in an abusive relationship makes you ill. Makes you ill.
Yeah.
And you said it made you ill, and you couldn't drive the car.
No. I mean, the doctor was very good. He described it as, it's a bit like you've been cycling and pedaling so hard that you've just got dizzy and come off track. So you've fallen in the ditch, but you're going to get yourself back out. You're going to be fine, okay? I'm going to help you get back there. 6 months, 7 months later, I actually was able to return to work, okay? And he'd said to me then, I would never have told you this, but he said, I've seen people never recover from where you were.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I just, nothing made sense to me. I couldn't work it out. I couldn't sit in a car. I felt sick actually being in the car. I didn't know how to drive it. But when it first started to realize that things were wrong people would be tooting me. I could not understand what a red light meant or a green light. I couldn't differentiate. I couldn't shop. I didn't know how to physically take things off the shelf and put them in the basket. I knew what I had to do. I just couldn't do it. And then when I got to the till, it was horrible. And I could hear everybody tutting and tutting. And I just normally I'd have turned and I said, who are you tutting at? I couldn't. I just lost all the fight and everything. I just didn't know what to do. So a very good friend and neighbour of mine used to take me shopping and help me. And she supported me. She got me to start going out and about. And then I went for cognitive therapy. And that was very helpful as well, I have to say. So, yeah.
Fantastic. You're a woman of action, Jacky.
Yes.
I can't imagine you being married to somebody who is a man of inaction. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. Even if he hadn't had an alcohol problem.
No.
Because you are a doer of doing things. I can't imagine you ever retiring, actually. Emma has a question. Okay. Thank you, Emma. Why do you feel budgeting and financial well-being is so important?
Okay, I think financial well-being and budgeting helps you to understand that you will be able to live and survive. You'll be able to Maslow's basic needs. It's that kind of thing. So if you've got and you know what your income is, you can live with that. You might have to cut back, but you've got the confidence that you can. It won't be the thing that keeps you back. And a lot of women feel trapped in abusive relationships because they just don't know how they're going to afford to live, especially, I didn't have children, but if you've got children, I had 2 little dogs. They were my children, but one of the things I couldn't afford to buy in Oxford where my life was because I couldn't afford to buy anything for us. It was just, I had to uproot everything, and that was big enough and scary enough. But so I think do your budget, work out what it's going to cost you, where you're going to live, and see what help you can get. There is help around. You've just got to know what it is that you need and what you can contribute to it and what else you can possibly do. There are lots of, in this day and age, it's very uncertain for anybody whose job's going to be around. You can't think of a job as a long-term thing. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to think about what we can do to supplement our income now. And that will actually help you with the confidence to plan.
Absolutely, yeah.
As you see that growing, you know that you can do it. Definitely. I think it's important.
But Barbara's saying it's important to plan to leave. Barbara left with a bag in her car and no idea where she was going and what she was going to do.
That's incredibly scary.
So brave though, because it is terrifying. It's terrifying when you've planned.
Yeah.
So it's terrifying if you've just got to jump ship and leave. That's Barbara. That is so scary and brave.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And Barbara's also saying the past is always present, but you have to come through trauma to triumph. And Barbara can help you with that. She's good with that.
Yes, she certainly is.
I think you have to process it, don't you? I mean, you have to go through some kind of processing, either with therapy or counselling or something.
Yes,
so that
to help.
Because if it's out there in the world, it's out there rather than inside you all the time. Because if it's inside you, it's just going to make you poorly. It's amazing how many people say that their abusive relationship has actually made them physically ill, and as well as mentally ill, but physically ill, which is just crazy. I mean, how much money could we save by making sure that we talk to people at the beginning of their time when they're starting relationships to make sure that those toxic relationships aren't allowed to develop? as a country, we would save billions, because there wouldn't be all this problem with women having to have treatment, and also the police having to be called out, and ambulance. I mean, my friend was saying earlier that 3 o'clock this morning, 3 doors down from where he lived, there was 3 police cars and an ambulance after a domestic when there was a knife.
The knife.
Oh yeah, I think she's just got the end of it. She's just got to the end of her tether with him, and she's stabbed him or something. Yeah. Oh yeah, Kerry. This is Kerry saying, right, wow, Jacky, I so relate to you. I've just done my first food shop in years, and it felt so amazing. So Kerry went to the supermarket the other day to buy whatever the hell she wanted to buy.
Yeah, lovely.
It's brilliant. I hope you filled the cupboard with biscuits.
Brilliant. Oh,
That's fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. But thank you, Jacky. That is just absolutely, I'm so happy and so grateful that you've come on tonight to show people, like, we're just like normal. You don't have to be superwoman to be successful.
no, you don't.
I know people see and go, oh, look at that businesswoman. And really, they're just...
Listen, I'm just a normal, matter. Call it what you like. I'm just a normal person. I am where I am because I've worked hard to get there, but I've been determined. I'm not going to any bastard cry me down, and they will. It'll happen again. I say it will happen again. Life has a horrible habit of repeating itself. But forewarned is forearmed, and being strong. And I think having a plan and valuing yourself. That's my biggest lesson. Would I stay in a relationship 30 odd years again before I had the strength to leave? No, I wouldn't. No, I think if somebody can't show reciprocal and genuine love, then it's just, why be in that relationship? It can't be making them very happy either, actually, however way they show it. But
that's right, no. They can't be happy.
No. And if they are happy making you unhappy, that is so toxic. That is absolutely, if they start to find it amusing that you're getting upset or being overly, they're calling you overly sensitive, etc., get out. Yeah. That's just a big warning sign that they don't care. They have no interest in your well-being at all.
Thank you, Jacky. And I'm still envious. You sat there in your gorgeous, cozy caravan.
And the sun's still out.
I know. For anybody who's watching, who's in the south of the country, where I'm at 55 degrees, you're probably at 56 degrees by now. North.
Yes, I don't know.
The sky doesn't get dark at this time of the year, and it's just absolutely blissful. However, we pay that back in February when the sky doesn't get light.
Yes.
And Barbara's even further north, on the top of the world of Scotland. Yeah, on the top of the kingdom. Goodness me.
I'd like to be in Norway and see what it's like there.
Norway's amazing. I need to go to Tromsø, which is north of the Arctic Circle. That's on my to-do list.
There you are.
I have been to Oslo. You can hop across to Oslo from Newcastle normally. It's beautiful.
There we go.
Freezing.
Freezing. Well, yeah. I'll find a walk.
Okay. You wear there's no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing.
Oh.
So yeah. Okay, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. If anybody else who's watching has any questions, if you're watching on replay, put them in and we'll keep an eye out for that. I can't thank you enough, Jacky. Having met you a couple of years ago, I was like, you are like the yin to my yang. And like, you sort of balance because I'm one of these people who's like, rah, Reggie. And you're so calming and so considerate, and you think things through so... and I'm one of these people who like goes off like a firework, and you sort of brought me like so much peace and like understanding. I really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. I'm just going to turn up at your caravan one time. I've actually got to go out at midnight because my son's in York to watch a football game, and his train doesn't get in till 11:30. So I'll be sat outside the central station at 11:30 tonight. Oh my God.
Joy, joys, Rie.
Kids. That's what happens, isn't it? So everybody who's watching, thank you for everybody who's tuned in this evening. I hope you've taken value from that wonderful story. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Right. Bye.